of the emergency, in which you played a key role. And I remember last time also you and I had a brief discussion on it. The message from the emergency as regards, the freedom of speech, that we are finding, especially with social media, it's becoming more of a problem, really.
That's true. Well, first of all, there's so much confusion about fundamental rights and freedom of speech in particular. That some of it needs to be clarified. Constitution, founding fathers, or the makers of the Constitution, the chairman of the Constitution Committee was Rajendra Prasad. The chairman of the Fundamental Rights Committee was Sardar Patel. And the chairman of the drafting committee and amendments was Ambedkar.
Okay.
Jawaharlal Nehru was peripheral. All right. Now, they were so keen on, first of all, unlike Britain, we have a constitution. Britain has no constitution. It's all by precedents. Fundamental rights was considered core. And this we really also learned from the American Constitution. Fundamental rights has become a very important aspect of the Constitution. So we gave complete freedom of speech. It was total freedom when the Constitution was formed. Freedom of, moving around the country, freedom. So many freedoms are there in Article 19. In 1950, after the adoption of the Constitution in 1951, a writer called the brother of Romila Thapar, Ramesh Thapar, he wrote some really nasty piece about Jawaharlal Nehru, because I think Ramesh Thapar was a communist, and the communists those days hated Jawaharlal Nehru, Indian communists. So he wrote a lot of nasty things and about how India is being put together by the British. I don't know, all kinds of things. And since it was insulting to Nehru, he took umbrage, and Sardar Patel, that by then passed away, Rajendra Prasad was sent to the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and there was hardly anybody left to challenge Nehru, and Nehru became a bit autocratic. And he introduced the first amendment to the Constitution, and that was to the fundamental rights to speak. He said that today anybody can say, I will murder you. Anybody can say India should be broken up into 4 parts. We can't allow that. So a clause was added that all fundamental rights are subject to reasonable conditions, restrictions. And what is reasonable, only the courts can decide. So so in Article 19 bracket 2, the Constitution describes what these reasonable restrictions are. For instance, you cannot say breakup of India, that you advocate the breakup of India. It's there in the Constitution. So those who say, I'm saying Azadi, Azadi, I have a fundamental right. Ramesh, you don't have a fundamental right. So same thing with the freedom of worship. It's subject to 3 reasonable restrictions: morality, health, and public order. So if you say, chopping my son's head off to please Kali is my fundamental right to worship, rubbish. That's subject to morality. It will be banned on that. If you say that, I will say nasty things standing before a masjid about Muhammad, that is not your freedom of right, freedom of speech. That is not your freedom to worship also. It is because subject to what is called as public order. Anything that disturbs public order, you can put the hate speech in our IPC comes out of that. So what people must understand is our fundamental rights are very precious, and the government and the Constitution has seen to it that it is sufficiently clothed so that it doesn't get extreme. It stays within a boundary, and that boundary is our preamble in the Constitution, which is called the basic structure.